How's it going, everyone? This is going to be a very simple video. I'm probably not going to get too in depth on this. This is meant to be just like a bare bones kind of thing that you can look over, decide if you want to do this. Completely up to you. I get 0 out of this, so there's nothing in here that I would gain from. So yeah, let's get started. This is my channel name, Fidel IQ or Fidelio, either one, and we will get started. So, as I'm sure the title will say, this is how to start a vulnerability scanning business, and you should be able to make out what it is. In case you don't, you are doing vulnerability scans for small businesses, and then you're giving them a report after. Okay, I had to pause it because of my cat. But now, who is this for? I would say mainly IT and security focused people in general. You don't have to be a student. It does help. This is something that would help your resume, or this would just help you long term if this is something you start doing, as a career, as your own business. I mean, it doesn't just have to be. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. My cat wanted to mess with stuff and distract me. It's awesome. It's a great guy. Okay, so next slide. So what do you actually do in this? Again, this is something that you should be able to derive from the title of the video, the slides. But you're doing a scan for a small business, looking at the findings, and you're generating a report, and you're giving this report to the customer, and you're probably going to go over it as well, because there's no way that you give somebody a report, highly technical terms on things they don't know details on, and they're just going to know what to do next. You're going to have to go over this, which is why you should have a background on this and kind of have a liking for it, so that way it comes easy for you. But that's just what I think. So tools you will need, actually, you probably already have the main tool, and that's a computer. And I will say a laptop, obviously, so that way you can go to different locations and be readily available to just get up and go, sit down, plug in the power, and just get to work. And then within that tool, the main tool being the laptop, OpenVAS, which is a vulnerability scanning software. It's mainly on Linux. Or you can get Qualys Community Edition, which you can only get for a year. You do need a business email. I mean, it could probably be your personal email when you do sign up for it, but keep in mind it is only something you would have for a year unless you want to pay for it, and it is a lot of money. But it's somewhere you could start. They do make it very easy to understand things. But yeah, that's that. And then you need Nmap. So Nmap is only going to be used for discovering the endpoints on a network. So when you get to whatever location, you can ask them, hey, how many computers do you have on your network? They may tell you, okay, I have like 5 desktops, 5 laptops, but they may not be tracking, let's say they have a server that, they don't really touch, or anything that they had an IT company go install for them one time. That's not going to come up to their mind as like, oh yeah, this is a computer. So that's why you should probably, take a look around, and then also do a scan with Nmap for, any endpoint devices that you can discover. And plus, it'll give you some details on it. You can ask them, hey, is there something like this on your network? And hopefully they know. Most likely, well, we don't know most likely, but hopefully they would know. And then you will need some sort of software to put the report together, and then add your comments to it and whatever summary you want to give. This part is definitely up to you. I don't have a template or anything for this. I mean, I could probably create one, but that's why Word or LibreOffice is on here, because you can edit or create documents. So next slide. Now, how much can you charge for a scan? This varies. Small businesses, I mean, they may have 10 computers, 15 computers, upwards of that, depending on what they do. So it really varies. But I mean, I would say this is a good starting point from 3 to 600. You could have like a base, and then, for this, many endpoints, and then if they have past like 10, you can add however much. It could be $20, $25, whatever you see fit. I encourage you to do research on this yourself. I would say even talk to business owners that, brick and mortar places, meaning like dental offices, medical offices, maybe financial firms, to get an idea, the community you're going to be working with, because it's going to be something you probably do locally. And then I have here optional add-ons, remediation call, or rescan, which in this world, and let's say you work for a big corporate company, this is, something they do. They don't do a remediation call. They have a team that will go over the vulnerabilities and say, hey, this is how we need to remediate these and fix them. And then once that's done, or within a certain amount of time, then you do another scan and see, let's say in like 6 months for the small business. Let's say you come back in 6 months because they agree, hey, we're going to fix these, get them fixed, whatever. And then you come back in 6 months to rescan, they shouldn't come up. You come back, you scan, and as planned, they don't come up, which is great. There might be new ones, whatever. But yeah, that's what these add-ons are for. So I try to think of this as if you were working at a big company, and the different teams they have for every little thing that these small businesses do not have and don't really pay mind to. So an example workflow, obviously you get written permission. I would say have certain contracts created so that way you can go over it, have them sign it, date, and maybe you sign it as well. But once you have that, then you are connecting your computer to the network. You are discovering the devices, and then you're running the vulnerability scan on the IP range that you're giving to either the OpenBAS tool or Qualys Community Edition. Once you've done that, you don't have to do this all in one day. It would be super nice for, the manager or owner, but most likely what will happen is you'll get the scan, go back home, you'd work on creating the report with the results that you have, so you can combine it into one giant file or two different ones, kind of like here's a technical form and then another file that maybe along the lines of, hey, this is what this means to you, and probably I would say to go over it with them maybe on a phone call or in person. That way they're more comfortable with it and they understand it. Now, legal and ethical considerations, I would say this is a big deal. Always scan with permission. I would say that's an obvious thing. Define the scope clearly. This is just saying we are only scanning this and we're doing this type of scan. That way that you want to cover the details in that, I would suggest. Obviously never exploit vulnerabilities, because that's just mean. We don't want to do that. We want to help people, and yeah, so never exploit them. Obviously never share them once you do a report. And I mean, this may be another conversation, but this has to do with how you store the information, whether you have it stored all on the cloud or locally on your computer, because I would say that's a big deal, because let's say somebody infiltrates your computer, which has all these results. Now I can go and see, all these businesses that are local or wherever I'm at, all these businesses have these vulnerabilities. So if I can infiltrate the network, I can exploit it. So, and then possibly that could get tracked back to you, and then, well, it was your fault. And yeah, along with what I was saying, keep reports confidential. So find a way to keep it to where it's your eyes only, password protected. Maybe even delete them when you're done and have that written. I would say this is something you need to think about. But yeah, I would say that's pretty self-explanatory. So now finding clients, you heard me mention medical and dental earlier. It doesn't just have to be them, but as far as the people that are going to most likely want to do this the most, it would be businesses that are handling critical information. So with these types of businesses, they're handling a lot of PHI, which is patient health information, which means if I go to one of these places and let's say they get breached, they get hacked, whatever, all the information's leaked, well, whoever that was just has my name, number, address, my weight, my blood type, and whatever medical information they had done at that facility, which may have been, protected had you went and done a vulnerability scan and helped them fix it. And that's where you come in. But yeah, these are going to be the more critical locations, I would say, to go out and help. The conversations I've had with the managers or owners of these locations, I would ask them if they would value something like that to know, where they sit as far as security of their information technology, and everybody has an interest in that. It's just not something they think about every day. And small and medium-sized businesses are higher likely to be at the receiving end of a hack, whether it's ransomware or whatever kind of breach it is. They're more likely, and it's because they don't have, right here, businesses without in-house IT security, and that's a lot of businesses, because chances are if this office doesn't have an IT person, they definitely don't have an IT security person, because that's just a more focused part of IT, and more oftentimes it's more expensive, and it's probably not something they think about too much. They probably outsource most of their stuff anyway, especially when it comes to IT equipment, setting it up, printers, phones, computers. It's kind of like a set and forget for these kinds of places, especially like the small family-owned ones. Franchises probably not so much, but yeah. So this is a huge component of who you speak to. I would also add on to their financial firms, whether maybe insurance places or just financial handling, money. If I was a bad guy, I would look for where can I get the most, where can I make the gain of most, and that's most likely the financial sector and the medical industry, because of the information. Because information is it's a lot of money. So yeah, both areas I would say would be key in this. Now deliverables, kind of went over this earlier. Once you're done with the scan, you should have a PDF report, and from there, you reading it. If I'm imagining somebody who is IT focused or IT security, cybersecurity focused, you should be able to translate what you're reading and understand it. So from that, it should give you remediation steps. It probably will be very simple. Just this service needs to be updated, or this service is no longer being supported. So that will definitely help you in translating to the client. So yes, that's your deliverable. Now this can scale. Personally, I have not scaled it. Just not something I've worked on, but I imagine other people can work on it, which is why I'm creating this video. So I would say the startup cost for this is definitely on the lower side. It's something that could be done on your own, and let's say it doesn't work out as this $100,000-$200,000 a year business, which possibly could. You still have all this experience and credibility that you have now built. Because I can say that doing this actually helped me get into the cybersecurity role that I'm in currently. It shows a lot of different things. I would say if I was a manager hiring and I saw this, but most importantly, you're building experience, you're building social skills, because you do have to speak to a lot of people. and you're learning how to use tools that are used in these bigger corporations. So, but back to the subject of why this scales. Yeah, so you do it by yourself. The startup cost isn't expensive, like isn't crazy. It's a laptop and the tool on the laptop, and then also the other things that come after it or before it, whichever one you do, is making sure you have the LLC, business insurance. I would say it's important. Whatever gas money you're spending, maybe you buy some clothes to make yourself look professional, maybe a haircut. But the part that is, I would say, more weight on is your knowledge, being able to speak to somebody on the fly about why this is important to do, and being confident as well. It's huge. But yeah, this scales because repeat scans equals recurring revenue, and then it just cycles. And then I'm sure at some point, bigger companies would say, hey, can you help us out with this? Or it may get into different things. It can scale to other things. But yes, we will continue. As I said earlier, this is, if you don't get anything out of this long term, you would definitely build experience, possibly some income, hopefully, right? And it's something that you can put on your resume, help you get your next position, and move further. I think it's great for that. So, and I think I have some. Yeah, so this is just a flow, kind of what we spoke about earlier. You're at the client network, discovering with Nmap, doing the scan, report and review. Pretty simple. Technical, host discovery, port scanning, service detection, vulnerability matching. It's very simple. Business workflow, you get permission, you get the scope, probably some contracts to sign, like some paperwork. Executing the scan, you're doing the analysis, and then after that you're giving the customer something that they can touch and go over, like, wow, this actually happened. That's pretty cool. And yeah, that is it for the slideshow. I intended for this to be a short video. Turns out I'm at 17 minutes, which is pretty crazy. Or maybe that's just recording, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think I went over some good points. I could go into deeper detail, maybe on a different video, but we will leave that for another time. Feel free to comment, maybe send me a message, whatever it is, and I will get back to you. Oh, and subscribe and like this video.